I've been playing a lot of video games during the pandemic. Well, and not just any video games. I've been playing a lot of resource management and life simulation games like Animal Crossing or Littlewood. It's almost like I'm trying to live an enjoyable life free of COVID or something. No, but really, I've always enjoyed these types of games, even outside of pandemic times. I've just never understood why. When you break it down, these games really just consist of a long series of chores. Chores that, if you did them in real life, would generally be hard or boring work, like chopping trees or paying off debt. These kind of chores aren't something I'd want to be doing in my regular life, in my spare time. So why is it that when we put these things into video games, they suddenly become enjoyable? Why is it that we enjoy chores in video games at all? To understand why we enjoy chores in video games, we first need to understand how to define a video game, which, believe it or not, is actually a hard thing to do. As game studies have evolved, there have been many different debates on how to define what a video game is. As researcher Jaco Sternos states in his work on game definitions, a good definition brings about clarity, and as it happens, many definitions about games do not bring about clarity at all. In the 60s, games were described as any contest among adversaries operating under constraints for an objective, victory, or payoff. In the 80s, games were described as a closed formal system that subjectively represents a subset of reality. And one of the most popular definitions comes from 2005. A game is a rule-based system with a variable and quantifiable outcome, where different outcomes are assigned different values. The player exerts effort in order to influence the outcome. The player feels emotionally attached to the outcome, and the consequences of the activity are negotiable. So what does this mean about my debt in Animal Crossing or my Potato Quest in Littlewood? Let's break it down using Jules' definition. Resource management games and life simulation games like Animal Crossing and Littlewood function by combining smaller goals and quests in order to help you on your way to a larger, more amorphous goal. For Animal Crossing, this larger goal may be the nicest 5-star island, or for Littlewood, it might be having your residents be the happiest they can be. But regardless of this goal, there are rules in place to make it harder to achieve. In Littlewood, you're often sent quests by residents of your town. Early on in the game, you're introduced to the quest board, where your residents can place requests for several different things, including items to be sold at the marketplace, requests to join your player character on different activities throughout the game, and simple fetch quests such as giving your resident a piece of wood. These different quests provide extra ways to help you grow your attachment with residents, and also reward you with money or random items. In other words, you must exert effort to influence an outcome in which you are emotionally attached to. You're performing the quest in order to earn money for your town and make your residents happier. By negotiating this activity, you're working towards a larger goal. In this way, Jules' definition, while not entirely perfect for every game, reminds us of the importance of effort and emotional attachment in order to achieve goals. If you were to boot up Animal Crossing for the first time with all of the tools, recipes, and money to do whatever you wanted on your island and make it the coolest you could possibly imagine, would it be as satisfying as collecting all of that on your own? Would you get the same level of accomplishment from it? There's a satisfaction to completing these tasks in a video game, as due to our emotional attachment to our goals within the game, the effort feels worth it. This isn't to say that every game finds the right balance to make its chores or fetch quests feel worth it, but when there is the right balance between the effort to the emotional payoff or satisfaction, these chores start to feel less like actions you would want to do in real life and, well, more like a game. What makes chores work in video games then is a definable goal that makes the chores worth it. It's the satisfaction of completing a task, and it's the emotional payoff of contributing to a narrative within the game. So if we need to have a goal and emotional payoff to make our video game chores feel fun, how do games do this? While the satisfaction and rewards we get from performing chores in video games is one element that keeps us coming back, it isn't the only thing that makes these actions fun. If that were the case, what would be the difference between me paying off loans in Animal Crossing and me paying off loans in real life? Both lead me closer to an overarching goal. Both give me some sort of reward, but they still feel different. This is where immersion comes in. If you're enjoying a video game, it's probably for a reason. The goal of most video games is to draw you in, make you feel like you're a part of an experience. Games do this in a variety of ways, from believable environments, compelling narratives, customizable avatars, and so much more. In his essay on immersion, Evan Torner states that in video games, we want to take on the role of another. Moreover, we want our actions within a story to have consequences. Immersion, he argues, is not a matter of realistic graphics or incredible sound design, but rather, as he says, feeling involved in an experience separate from one's everyday reality. Video games provide new worlds to explore. Regardless if the worlds are similar to our own or entirely different, it is the experience of feeling a part of something separate from your current reality that pulls us in. Fetch quests and chores give us a sense of agency in these worlds. They make us feel like we're a part of them, like our input into the world has consequences, as Torner would state. They can add to the immersion, making us feel as though our effort is a part of this world. They can also benefit from immersive storytelling. I must do these chores to benefit the overall narrative, such as in Littlewood, where collecting items helps you unlock more of the narrative, or in Animal Crossing New Horizons, when paying for more buildings allows the coveted KK slider to visit the island. When we feel immersed in a world, we're more likely to feel an emotional investment in our actions. Jewel, who, as you remember, provided us with our definition of video games earlier, has also stated that a video game story's pull makes us want to know what happens, how the characters deal with a situation, or who committed the crime. These things pull us in. Video games are like stories, like music, like singing a song. You want to finish the song on the final note. You must play this game. You must. We are pulled into certain video games for a reason. While on face value, it may seem strange that we're virtually performing tasks that are otherwise undesirable, but when a game provides us with a sense of satisfaction in our tasks and the immersion and narrative goals to incentivize these tasks, it becomes less of a chore and more of an exciting challenge to overcome. So why do we enjoy chores in video games? It all comes down to a sense of satisfaction and a sense of immersion. When we feel as if the chores in our video games have consequences and that we are building to something bigger in an immersive space, the emotional payoff, or satisfaction, makes it feel worth it, which is something that I'd argue we don't really get doing these sort of chores in real life. So for now, I'm gonna stick to island hopping.